My family mocked me for marrying a broke man and said I'd regret it. Now that he's a successful entrepreneur and we're living our best life, they're suddenly interested in reconnecting. So I sent them our vacation photos from our private villa in the Maldives. I never thought I'd be the kind of person to write a long Reddit post, but here we are. Buckle up because this is a wild ride of entitlement, betrayal, and the sweetest revenge I never even had to plan. Life just handed it to me. Let me start from the beginning. My family has always been obsessed with appearances. Not just how you look, but how much money you have, what kind of car you drive, the status of your job, and who you're married to. Growing up, I always knew that love and happiness came second to wealth and reputation in their eyes. If you weren't keeping up with their unrealistic standards, you were considered a failure. I, on the other hand, didn't care about any of that. I wanted to be happy, I wanted to be in love, and most importantly, I wanted a partner who treated me well, not just a guy with a fat paycheck. My family never understood that. Enter my now husband, Jake. When I met Jake, he was working tirelessly to build his own company from the ground up. He was ambitious, smart, and hardworking, but at the time, he wasn't exactly rolling in cash. In fact, he was barely scraping by. He poured every spare dollar into his business and to my family. That translated to, he's a broke loser who will never amount to anything. They hated him immediately. At first, it was subtle. My mom would make little comments at family dinners like, "Oh, sweetie, are you sure you want to struggle for the rest of your life? Or wouldn't it be nice to be spoiled for once instead of always having to split the bill?" My dad, who worked in finance and thought he was the ultimate authority on all things money, flat out told me that Jake was never going to succeed and that I was throwing away my future. Then there was my sister, Lauren. If you ever need a real-life example of someone who peaked in high school, it's her. She married a guy who came from old money, so she's never worked a day in her life. Her entire personality revolves around expensive handbags, luxury vacations, and belittling people who don't have as much as she does. She took every opportunity to mock Jake, calling him Mr. Startup and Budget Boy behind his back. It got worse when Jake and I got engaged. My family tried everything to stop the wedding. My mom cried, actual tears about how I was ruining my life. My dad offered to pay me to break off the engagement, which I laughed at. But Lauren? She took things to another level. She actually had the audacity to invite me to lunch one day and, with the smuggest look on her face, handed me a business card. "This," she said, "is my husband's friend. He's a successful lawyer. Handsome, loaded, and single. Just in case you come to your senses before the wedding." I was fuming. I told her that Jake and I loved each other and that I wasn't marrying him for money. Her response? "That's cute, but love doesn't pay the bills." I walked out, fuming, and didn't talk to her for months. Fast forward to the wedding. Surprise, surprise, my family barely participated. My parents showed up but spent the whole time sulking like they were at a funeral. Lauren, on the other hand, made a huge show of giving us a cheap wedding gift and making passive-aggressive comments all night. She even had the nerve to joke that I should keep the receipt in case I want to return Jake for a richer model. But here's the thing about my husband. He may not have had money then, but he had something much more valuable: drive. And over the next few years, his business took off. I mean, really took off. At first, it was slow progress: bigger clients, more investors, better paychecks. But then it boomed. Suddenly, Jake was making more in a month than my dad made in a year. We moved into a beautiful home, traveled to places I never thought I'd see, and most importantly, we were happy. I didn't rub it in anyone's face because, honestly, I had no reason to. But then my family noticed. The shift was almost comical. One minute, they were looking down on us, and the next, they were suddenly so interested in my life again. It started with my mom calling just to check in and casually asking how we were doing financially. My dad, who once said Jake would never amount to anything, started sending him investment articles and asking for business advice. And Lauren? Oh, Lauren. She went from openly mocking Jake to suddenly acting like we were best friends. She started commenting on all my social media posts, leaving cringeworthy things like, "Oh my God, sis, so proud of you guys," when she hadn't even spoken to me in years. Then, out of nowhere, she invited us to a big family vacation, one we were expected to help pay for. That's when I knew it was time for some payback. So I did something petty. I waited until we were on vacation, staying in a luxurious private villa in the Maldives, and when my mom, dad, and Lauren started blowing up my phone, acting like we were all close again, I sent them one simple thing: a picture of Jake and me sipping cocktails with the ocean in the background and the caption, "Living our best life." I knew it would drive them crazy. And oh, it did. My phone exploded with messages. My mom, "Oh, wow, that looks amazing. You should have invited family." My dad, "Hope you're investing wisely." And Lauren? She sent the most unhinged message yet. "You think you're better than us now? Just because you got lucky? Don't forget where you came from." I stare at Lauren's message, shaking my head. Lucky. She really thought Jake's success was just luck? Like he hadn't spent years sacrificing sleep, working insane hours, and grinding to build something from nothing? Like I hadn't supported him through every setback, every financial struggle, every moment of doubt? No, this wasn't luck. This was earned. But I didn't reply. Not yet. I wanted to see just how desperate they'd get. And sure enough, it didn't take long. A few days after I sent the vacation photo, my mom called. I let it go to voicemail, and when I finally listened to it, she sounded suspiciously sweet. "Oh, honey, I just wanted to hear your voice. It's been so long since we all got together. We miss you. Let's plan a family dinner when you're back, okay? Love you." Yeah, right? The same woman who once told me I'd be back, begging for help, when Jake inevitably failed, was now pretending she missed me. I wasn't buying it. Then my dad called. He wasn't as subtle. "I saw the photo. Looks like you two are doing very well for yourselves. Listen, I have a few investment opportunities you might want to consider. You're at a point where you should be making smart financial moves, not just spending recklessly." Oh, there was the thinly veiled insult. He was never proud of me, never happy for me. He just wanted to make sure I wasn't wasting the money that, in his mind, I didn't deserve to have. But Lauren? Lauren was the real kicker. That same night, she called me. I didn't answer, so she texted. "Lauren, so I was thinking we should do a sister's trip, just us girls. Maybe Europe? Bora Bora? My treat. Well, mostly. You can cover some of it too, right?" I laughed out loud. This was the same sister who used to humiliate me at family gatherings, telling everyone I was basically dating a future bankruptcy case. The same sister who once gifted me a book titled How to Marry Rich at my bridal shower as a joke. And now she wanted a luxurious sister's trip on my dime? I didn't respond. But oh, she wasn't done. The next morning, I woke up to a long, unhinged voice message. "You know, you're acting really stuck up. Just because Jake got lucky with his business doesn't mean you get to act like you're better than everyone." I was trying to be nice. But whatever. Enjoy your stupid little trip. Hope you remember who was actually there for you before the money. I almost choked on my coffee. Who was there for me? Was she joking? She wasn't there when Jake and I were struggling to pay rent. She wasn't there when we had to share a single, beat-up car because we couldn't afford two. She wasn't there when my parents made me feel like garbage for choosing love over money. No, she was laughing at me, mocking me, waiting for me to fail. And now she had the audacity to act like she was some loyal sister who had been by my side all along. That was it. That was my breaking point. I took a deep breath, then typed out a reply. "Me. You're right, Lauren. I do remember who was there for me before the money. That's why you haven't heard from me in years. Enjoy your actual friends." I hit send, and then I blocked her. But I knew this wasn't over. Because if there's one thing my family hates more than being ignored, it's realizing they no longer have control over me. Blocking Lauren felt satisfying, but I knew my family wouldn't take the hint so easily. They had spent years treating me like a failure, and now that they saw I was thriving, they were desperate to wedge themselves back into my life. I just didn't expect them to escalate so fast. It started small. My mom left more voicemails, sickly sweet, over the top, and clearly fake. "Oh, sweetheart, I heard from Lauren that you're being a little distant. Is everything okay? You know we love you. Families should stick together, no matter what." No matter what. Since when? I ignored her. Then, my dad tried a different angle. He sent me a long email. Yes, an email detailing a wonderful investment opportunity that he thought Jake and I should get in on. It was filled with financial jargon, charts, and a thinly disguised request for money. Again, I ignored it. And then they showed up. Jake and I had just gotten home from dinner one night when we saw a car parked outside our house. My parents' car. Jake groaned. "You did say you weren't answering them, right?" "Yep," I said, already dreading whatever this was about. The second I stepped out of the car, my mom rushed toward me, arms outstretched like she was about to pull me into the biggest, most heartfelt hug. "Oh, honey, finally. We've been trying to reach you." I took a step back. "Yeah, I noticed." She faltered for a second, but my dad stepped in, his expression perfectly composed. "We just thought it would be easier to talk in person." Translation: "We knew you were ignoring us, so we forced our way into your life anyway." Jake came up beside me, crossing his arms. "What do you guys want?" "Oh, Jake, it's so good to see you," my mom said, all fake warmth. "We're so proud of everything you've accomplished, and we just hate that we've grown apart. We want to make things right." I almost laughed. "You mean now that Jake is successful?" She looked genuinely offended. "That's not fair. We've always wanted the best for you too." "Sure," I said dryly. "That's why you called him a broke waste of time and tried to set me up with a lawyer before my wedding." My mom's face twitched. I turned to my dad. "And you literally offered me money to leave him." Dad cleared his throat, adjusting his tie like he was at a business meeting. "Look, we may have misjudged things before, but that's in the past. We're here now, trying to move forward." Move forward? No. They were here because they saw our wealth and wanted a piece of it. But before I could respond, my mom sighed dramatically, like she was the victim here. "I just don't understand why you're so angry. We're family, and families help each other." And there it was, the real reason they were here. Jake and I exchanged a look. He gave me the tiniest smirk like, "Here it comes." I crossed my arms. "Help each other how, exactly?" Dad cleared his throat again. "Well, we've been having a bit of financial trouble lately." There it was. "Your father's investments didn't quite pan out," my mom added quickly. "And, well, your sister is struggling too." I resisted the urge to roll my eyes. Struggling? Lauren, the same woman who had spent years flaunting her wealth and acting like I was beneath her? Jake leaned against the car, completely unfazed. "So let me get this straight. You ignored us when we struggled. Mock me. Try to sabotage our relationship. And now that we're successful, you suddenly care about family?" Mom gasped, as if he had just slapped her. "That's not fair." "It's exactly fair," I shot back. "You weren't there for us. Not when we needed support. Not when we were struggling. You made it very clear that we weren't good enough for you. And now you want us to help you." Dad looked annoyed now, like I was being unreasonable. "We're not asking for much." "How much?" I asked flatly. There was a pause. Then my dad sighed. "A couple $100,000. Jake let out a low whistle. "Wow, that's not much at all." I actually laughed. $100,000? My parents just stood there expectant, like they genuinely thought I'd say yes. I could feel the anger rising in my chest, but instead of blowing up, I just smiled. "No," my mom gasped again. "What do you mean, no?" "No. As in, no, I repeated. As in, not a single cent. As in, you can turn around and leave because this conversation is over. My dad looked furious now. You're being selfish. We're your family. And where was this family loyalty when I needed it? I shot back. Mom's lip trembled like she was about to cry, but I knew better. These weren't real tears. This was manipulation. Dad, on the other hand, wasn't giving up. He stepped closer, lowering his voice like he thought he could intimidate me. You have more than enough to help us out. I didn't flinch, and I owe you nothing. And then, Lauren called. Her name popped up on my mom's phone, and my mom quickly answered on speakerphone. Sweetheart, we're talking to your sister right now, but Lauren wasn't in the mood for small talk. I just got notice from the bank, she snapped. The credit cards are maxed out, Mom, and now they're denying my loan request. What did you do? My mom blanched. My dad's expression tightened, and that's when it hit me. They weren't just struggling, they were broke. And suddenly, I realized just how deep their financial mess really was. As I turned to walk away, my mother's voice broke into a desperate wail. Wait, please, you can't just walk away from us. I didn't stop. I didn't even hesitate. Jake pressed his hand against the small of my back, a silent show of support. But then my dad snapped. You ungrateful brat, he barked. After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us. You're choosing to let your family suffer. That made me stop. I turned slowly, letting his words settle in the air. Everything they'd done for me. I took a deep breath, keeping my voice steady. What exactly have you done for me? My dad faltered for half a second, but then recovered. We raised you. We gave you everything: food, a roof over your head, an education. And this is how you treat us. I laughed. Actually laughed. You mean the bare minimum of parenting? Yeah, congratulations on doing the thing literally every parent is supposed to do. Mom gasped, clutching her chest like I had physically struck her. How dare you? But I wasn't done. You know what I remember? I continued. I remember when I told you I wanted to marry Jake, and you laughed in my face. I looked straight at my mom. I remember when you pulled me aside in my bridal shower and begged me to reconsider because I was throwing my future away. Her face turned red, but I didn't stop. I turned to my dad. I remember you offering me money, bribing me to leave Jake because you were so sure he would fail. My dad's jaw clenched, but I kept going. And I remember what you didn't do. You weren't there when we were barely scraping by. You weren't there when we were living paycheck to paycheck, when we had to share a tiny apartment, when we struggled just to make ends meet. You weren't there when we actually needed family. I exhaled sharply. But now that we're successful, now that Jake and I made it, now you suddenly care? Now you want to reconnect? I shook my head, my voice firm. You don't love me. You love what I can do for you. My mom's lip trembled, but I wasn't falling for it. Dad took a step closer, lowering his voice. We just need a little help, just enough to get back on our feet. I raised an eyebrow. A little help? You asked for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Dad didn't answer. Then Lauren, still on speakerphone, screeched. Are you serious right now? You're actually going to let your own family go broke when you have all that money? I rolled my eyes. You mean the money I worked for? The money Jake and I sacrificed for. Don't be so selfish, she snapped. God, you get a little wealth, and suddenly you think you're better than us. I smirked. You know what's funny, Lauren? When you were rich, you loved rubbing in my face. You loved making me feel small. You enjoyed watching me struggle. And now that the roles are reversed, suddenly it's selfish for me to enjoy my success. I took a step back toward our front door, gripping Jake's hand. We don't owe you anything, I said simply. Not a dime, not an apology, nothing. You'll regret this, my dad spat. I just smiled. No, I really won't. And with that, I turned, walked inside, and locked the door behind me. Jake pulled me into a hug. You okay? I exhaled slowly, then nodded. Yeah, Actually, I think I am. We stood there for a moment, listening to the muffled shouting outside as my parents and Lorne argued. I knew this wasn't the last time they'd try to worm their way back in. But I also knew that I had the power now. And that was something they could never take away from me. So, am I the a-hole for refusing to help my family now that they're broke? Or was this just karma coming full circle? Let me know what you think. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more gripping tales of karma and revenge. What do you think? Was the protagonist justified in cutting off their family? Or should they have helped? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Stay tuned for more incredible stories.